Welcome to the Whurthy Events training video series. This is Module 2, the Service Provider's Experience. In this second video, we're going to walk through location setup. We'll start by looking at how to add a location, then we'll look at how to edit a location, and finally, we will review how to delete locations and what that means in Whurthy Events. So as is always the case, when we want to find something in the Whurthy Events application, we should look over to the right-hand side, the sidebar containing the links. We can scroll down and then we can, in the administration section, look to the locations link. Now, just to be clear here, the word location may be different. You may have room, chair, office, venue, or whatever label that you selected as a part of deploying your Whurthy Events application. I'm going to go ahead and click on the locations link here. And so now we get to see the locations that are within Whurthy Events. We have the add location button here, and then we've got two locations currently entered into this particular deployment. We can see here that we've got a location called test physical venue. We can see that it's got the location type as physical address, that there are 100 seats entered against it, and it's got a physical address listed, and it also has some tax information. Remember when we looked at the wording settings video, the video previous to this one, we discussed tax scope and whether or not tax scope would be set globally or against the venue. Because we selected by venue, then we enter the tax settings for each venue. We also have here another location called Zoom meeting room. And so this location type is a virtual address, and we've got a URL to a Zoom meeting along with percentages from the tax scope point of view. So I'm going to go ahead with the review of the locations done. I'm going to go ahead and click on the add a location button. And so now what we have here is that the first field is that we need to give it a name. So we need to enter a name for the location. They can be physical or virtual. So we'll just do a new test or new demo location. I'm going to create this and then delete it. Then in the next field, we get to select whether or not it's a physical or a virtual address. So you'll notice beneath, whilst we have number of seats, we also have here showing a physical address field. If we change that to virtual address, that field will change beneath to match. So I'm going to do this as just a virtual address. Then we can enter in the number of seats. So this really is a number we can have as high as we want. The basic idea here is that the number of seats that you enter will be checked when you are creating events against a location. So if you create an event against this new demo location and I were to enter 10,000 seats, it would allow then for that event to have up to 10,000 seats. If I just entered 10 total seats when creating the event, if I tried to enter or create an event with more than 10 seats, it would let me know that this location has a limit of 10 seats. So, for example, typically experience with Zoom, if you have a virtual address and you've got a Zoom location, as it were, then you probably wouldn't want to enter more than 99 because that tends to be the capacity for Zoom meetings, or 49. So regardless of the physical or virtual nature of the location, it is important that you enter the total number of seats to reflect the capacity, because that's what ensures that you don't overbook a location. So I'm going to leave this as 99 for now. And again, because we entered the tax scope as being by venue in Whurthy settings, we get to enter the event taxation details here. If we'd done globally, this section wouldn't even display. We also have the option as well to leave that blank and in effect to have a 0 tax percentage for a given venue. Now that may be very relevant for a virtual address, really the choice concerning taxation is going to come down to your jurisdiction and your particular tax situation. So what Whurthy Events is doing is allowing you to enter in the taxation details based on your understanding and adherence to the local jurisdictional laws with regards to taxation. So with that being said, I will just leave that blank and I will click on the Create Location button. So this is a good check now, because what happened was that because I was selecting this as a virtual address, this is actually doing a check and making sure that I truly do have a URL. So it's looking for a prefix. So I'm going to go ahead and just enter in whurthy.com. And now this should work correctly. So I'm going to click the Create Location button. And it's now happy. So we've got the flash message letting me know that the location and new demo location has been successfully created. And if I now look at this, I can see that information entered. Now I have the ability from this page to edit the location. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the Edit Location button. And I may decide, for example, that no, I made a mistake. I actually want to have that as being a physical address and that I only have 25 seats. Now it's going to look for a physical address that I need to enter. So you'll notice as soon as I start to type, locally in browsers, in modern browsers, there is the ability to autofill. So if I type a letter or a number in a field that has already been filled in the past, it will offer that choice beneath. And I just click the down arrow to autocomplete that field from address that's previously been entered. So that's just convenient, one of those convenient features in modern browsers. And now I may decide, for example, well, this is a physical location, so I'm going to go ahead and actually enter in GST and a tax percentage of 5, and I'm going to click on the Update Location button. So now I've gone ahead and made that change. So we've now looked at how to add a location and how to edit a location. What I'm going to do is I'm now going to look at, in a moment, I'm going to look at deleting a location. But before I do that, I'm just going to point your attention to this button, Cancel for Location. And so this feature will be reviewed in another video. You can click on the link in the top right-hand corner of the page to review the Cancel for Location video at your own convenience. This is a convenient feature that allows you to, in effect, shut down a location and to really take care of notifying all of those customers that have a booking with you and, in effect, to cancel all of those events so that they can no longer be booked. And so that really is designed to save a lot of time, a lot of effort, and also to remove the potential of errors. But that will be reviewed in that Cancel for Location video. And so moving on then to the final part of this particular video, I'm now going to click on the Delete Location button. And as I do, I just want to point out that this Delete Location button will only show if you are logged in and with an account that is of super user status. So that is one of the controls that we put in place. And the idea is that super users, in effect, are owners. They have ultimate responsibility, and you can go ahead as a super user and you can delete to your heart's content. However, what Whurthy Events will do is it will do some checks. And the first check it's going to do is it's going to check, are there any event bookings for this location? So I'm going to go ahead and click on the Delete Location button. And so now it's giving me a red screen. It's making sure, are you absolutely certain that you want to delete the location, new demo location from Whurthy? So now the next line says there are currently 0 event bookings in Whurthy for this location. It's letting you know it's permanent. So it's gone ahead and done the check, and it's let you know that there are no event bookings. So that's straightforward. So I'm going to go ahead and delete. It's not surprising because I just added this location. So there really should be no bookings against it. So I'm going to go ahead and click the delete button. And now it takes me back to the location list. Now, what I can do, though, is just to finish this demonstration of deleting a location, I'm going to go ahead and click on the Test Physical Venue location. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the Delete Location button. And this is where it looks different, because now it's giving me even more red text, because when Whurthy Events did its checking behind the scenes, it identified that there are currently 5 event bookings in Whurthy for this location. And so the key point to note here, whilst there is a whole bunch of text explaining how this information all works together, the key point to take away here is that if you delete a location, all related bookings will also be deleted. Now, that's not going to disrupt how Whurthy works. However, this could disrupt any business process that relies on booking information such as revenue and taxes. Now, the good news is that if you create events, and then you've been creating events against a particular location, and then you decide that that location is no longer in play, then the expectation is that you wouldn't then create any more events for that location. So at that point, there would be no subsequent bookings. So you'd really have a choice. At that point, there would be no chance to have bookings in the future for that location, for that venue, or whatever label you give it, because you've not associated it with any active events. So in effect, when you know that the location is no longer available, don't select it for subsequent events. Start selecting other locations that are available. And in that way, no additional bookings will be created against the location. And so with that scenario, there really should be little need to delete a location, because in effect, you're just forgetting about it. And that allows you, on one hand, by not associating a location with an event, to not incur any bookings for that location, but also it means that you don't have to delete it, that you can preserve all those event bookings, which will ensure that any business processes that rely on information such as revenue and taxes for those bookings isn't going to disappear. So our recommendation is that deleting a location is most practical for when you've created a new location and you realize you don't have access to it, or you just don't need it, you're not going to use it, it's not being used for any events, there are no event bookings. And in that case, makes complete sense. The delete location is a feature of convenience. However, the moment you start having locations with events that then have event bookings, our recommendation is that you should not need to delete the location. You can basically just stop associating that location with an event, and then no future bookings will be created. And at the same time, by not having deleted it, you'll preserve any event bookings that were created in the past, and in effect, keep all of that information, which could well be useful down the line. Well, that concludes our review of location setup. Whurthy, value made easy.